Welcome back. The American League leading it by a score of 1-0. The 1972 All-Star game.
I love to play in the All-Star games. That's one of my fondest memories.
You're talking about guys who only play a couple of innings now in a ball game. You went the whole darn thing.
Yes, I did, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
10 innings worth. Here's Justin Thompson from the Detroit Tigers, the young 24-year-old, his first All-Star appearance. And Ken Caminiti is the batter he's facing, the fourth pitcher for the American League, as Joe Torre continues to run them in one at a time for one inning. Caminiti hit into a force play his first time up, 273 career hitter. Two-time Gold Glover. Check swings on Thompson and takes it. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And Jason Thompson is a guy you're going to see in All-Star games for a lot of years to come. Great stuff for the Detroit Tigers.
Outside with it, Jason Thompson, 2.29 earned run average is 7th best. Opposition hitting only 225 against him. That is 8th best in the American League.
Has a great curveball here.
He does. He can really bend it. Outside with a fastball there, 2-2. Johnny Oates in the Ranger uniform, the bench coach, named by Joe Torre to be on his staff.
It's interesting, they were co-managers of the year last year in the American League, so quite naturally they should manage the All-Star team together.
Down to third, backhand stop made. We've seen some good plays by Mr. Ripken. Cal has made 3 fine plays. This, of course, is the perennial All-Star shortstop who this season turned around to play third base in order to help the team, and look at that.
I really think he's a better third baseman now than he was a shortstop last year because, you know, he was losing a little range, but at third base, I mean, you don't have a lot of range. You just have to show the good hands, and he has great hands. We've seen him short hop a couple of balls, which takes good concentration and good hands.
And they will play to pull on Ray Langford. The left-handed hitter who grounded out his first time up, working here against Jason Thompson. 30 years old, first All-Star game for the St. Louis Cardinal. Left-hander against left-hander. Langford has outstanding speed. A couple of injuries have cut it down a bit, but he is still one of the fine power hitters and runners in the National League. Takes that one, 2 balls and 1 strike on it. Starters have stayed in this game except for Harvey Lopez. He's gone behind the plate for the National League. Off-speed delivery is in there. Don Zimmer, the veteran coach, still with the New York Yankees, and Joe Torre in the middle now as they look over that lineup card on who's going to go where. There's Zim. One of the game's great people, telling stories before the game in the clubhouse. Swung on and missed. Thompson coming in with the heat, gets the strikeout.
And the beautiful curveball on 2-1 is what set that fastball up. He threw him such a good curveball, he had to look for it, and then all of a sudden he throws it right by him.
Detroit Tigers, a vastly improved team. One of the reasons they're young pitchers.
Here's the fastball you see after the curveball, and you see that Langford way late on it. Good setup out on the outside part of the plate by Rodriguez, and Thompson hits the target.
So Jeff Blauser coming up with 2 down and nobody on. The National League struggling to get on base, as they have picked up a couple of walks and 1 hit. Down to third. Ripken barehanded makes the throw. Cal has been an MVP in this game before. If he keeps playing third base like that, he may be an MVP again. American League on top. Cal Ripken Jr., appearing in his 15th All-Star game, has had a magnificent defensive game.
Yes, he has. I mean, that barehanded play right there, he felt like he didn't have time to make it any other way, makes it perfectly.
He was the MVP in the 1991 All-Star game. American League leading it. Edgar Martinez, the home run, came off Maddox in the 2nd inning. That is the only run up there. Cal Ripken will lead it off for the American League. Ripken, Rodriguez, and Alamar due up, and Kevin Brown will be the new pitcher for the National League from the Florida Marlins. And Joe, this is a real fine right-hander.
Yes, he is. He throws a sinking fastball. He pitched a no-hitter against the Giants early this year.
Ripken fouls that one off. 1 ball, 1 strike.
A lot of movement on the fastball. Doesn't throw much else. He throws a real heavy sinking fastball. He'll throw an occasional slider, and he has a changeup that he just uses once in a while against left-handed hitters.
When he's on, he is virtually unhittable. He can throw those no-hitters or come close to him on any given outing with the stuff he has. Brown, ooh, almost took that one. Ripken's got a base hit. That is the proverbial shot through the box and almost took the pitcher with it.
Well, he got the fastball up a little bit. He throws a sinker, so he tries to keep the ball down. He got it up a little bit and out over the plate, and Cal Ripken hit a bullet back through the middle. And watch the target. It's down, but the pitch is up, and he hits a line drive right back at him, and Brown couldn't get his glove up in time.
Cal Ripken Jr. used to start at shortstop, of course, for the Baltimore Orioles, where he ran up all of those consecutive games, passing Gehrig, moving over to third base, and continuing to get the job done. You see the numbers he put up at short last year and at third base this year. And he's going to come out of the ball game. So Cal Ripken will leave 1 for 2 in the game. And Ripken, with those defensive plays, he'll give himself a chance to be. Joey Cora has come on as the pinch runner. Ripken gives himself a chance to be an MVP. There is Joey Cora from the Seattle Mariners, having a magnificent year with that team. And the throw over to first base gets him back. You talk about somebody who's just happy to be here. Joey Cora is one of those guys. He got named to the team because he would make it. He's always been known as a journeyman ball player, jumped from club to club. Here he is, an all-star. And the pitch is outside to Ivan Rodriguez, the catcher, who's up at the plate. His first all-star appearance. He was in a hotel room when he was told about it and just opened the window and yelled. He's a guy from the back streets of tough cities. Ivan Rodriguez swings and misses, and a ball, 2 strikes on Rodriguez from Kevin Brown.
And you have to appreciate Joey Cora for what he is, and that is a guy that's worked very, very hard to make himself into an everyday player. When the season started, he was being platooned. He was only playing against right-handed pitchers. And now he plays every day for the Seattle Mariners.
Right-hander misses outside with that one, and the count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes. Let's get the changes here. Bonds Langford in. Mose Saluz come into right field. Chipper Jones is in at third. Royce Clayton now at shortstop, and Kevin Brown the new pitcher. So you get changes there. Right, short, third, and pitcher. Rodriguez reaches and fouls it off. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And if we haven't caught up to your favorite player yet, we will. They'll be out there before this game's over, in all likelihood, with both managers trying to give everybody a shot here.
Chuck Knobloch. Looks like Sandy Alamar Jr. is about ready to come in. He's got his pads on.
Already warmed up there with a few beads of perspiration. Nice reach made by Javi Lopez on that one, and the count goes to 3 balls and 2 strikes on Rodriguez from Kevin Brown. Big Mark McGuire will wait for his chance to drill one. The home run leader. Brown with Cora on at first base, delivers 3-2. Cora going. Biggio had started to the bag, ended up having to go get that ball, and Bagwell takes it over at first base. So Cora's down at second base, 1 away. Rodriguez retired. And Roberto Alomar will get an RBI chance. Mark Grace of the Chicago Cubs, first baseman, biding his time. It is tough for managers when you have all these great players and these tremendous names around. They all want to play. Roberto Alomar up. Alomar fights that one off. Both he and his brother, see that ribbon they are wearing right there on the jersey, that black ribbon? It is in honor of their grandmother, who passed away late last week. Tony Velazquez, who is 96 years old, died in Puerto Rico. Funeral was held yesterday, and her request was that Sandy and Roberto not miss any games to attend her funeral. She asked that. And so they are not, but they are wearing that black ribbon in honor of their grandmother. That one not touched, and that'll move the runner over to third base. Joey Cora with 1 away. probably a passed ball on that one.
I think it has to be a pass ball. A lot of movement on the sinker from Kevin Brown, and as you mentioned earlier, it's kind of difficult sometimes for catchers who have not caught some of these pitchers to be able to handle the movement that they have on their pitches. Now watch, this pitch is up enough, but it just sinks away from him. Look at the movement there. Hits off the tip of the glove of Javi Lopez.
Has a smile with Kevin Brown, the pitcher, saying, can you just slow it down a little bit, maybe? The 0-2 delivery, and it's outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Roberto Alamar. Roberto with a .302 career average. As he came to this all-star break, he's got Joey Cora on at third base. 1-2 with 1 away. Infield had moved in. Brown checks the runner. Takes the throw to first. And there are now 2 down. Julie Croto's got our man, Larry Walker. Julie.
Larry, there's been a lot of hype about you not facing Johnson. I have to admit, I was surprised to see you take such a lighthearted approach to it.
Well, it's all in fun. You know, Randy being a great friend of mine, and you know, we're going to hook up, and when they come to Denver, go for dinner with him and his wife. So it's, you know, we're friends, and we got it over with finally.
On a more serious note, you've been flirting with 400 all season, and no one has hit over 400 since Ted Williams in 1941. Any pressure?
Well, it's July, you know, early July still, so if it goes on into September, then the pressure will start mounting. But for right now, I'm just enjoying the way I've been playing and just going with it.
Thanks a lot, Larry. Gary?
Julie, thank you very much. Larry Walker.
He is a very fine hitter, though, and you know, I just think that a lot of pressure builds up down the stretch if you are trying to hit 400, as you mentioned.
Joe, especially when you know Tony Gwynn's going to be either hanging right behind you or right ahead of you.
Yeah. Batting titles in the National League are hard to come by as long as Tony Gwynn's around. He has 7 of them himself.
Brady Anderson up there trying to get another run in, and it's a 3-0 count to him, 2 down. The leadoff hitter has picked up a double in the game, 1 for 2. Joey Cora is over at third base as he came on for Cal Ripken, who picked up a single to lead the inning off. Kevin Brown's fastball in the outside corner. 3-1. Anderson was on his way to first base. Larry Barnett pulled that string right back on him and getting back in the batter's box. 3-1 the count. Left field. Bonds right there. That'll do it. So despite a leadoff single, no runs, a base hit, and a base runner left on at third, this game continues to be a pitcher's matchup. 1-0 the American League. The home run by Edgar Martinez in the second inning, still the only run we've had in this game, and we get to see some more of the American and National League All-Stars. Bernie Williams comes in to play left. Cora stays in at second. Mark McGuire's at first. Jess Cirillo moves in at third. Sandy Alamar will do the catching, and Pat Henkin will be the new pitcher for the American League. And the first man he'll face will be Craig Biggio. Biggio, of distinction, has started this ball game, as have 43 other players at 2 or more different positions. You don't get many who do that and still able to come through. Second base and a catcher for Craig Biggio. Joe Torre, the skipper of the American League, played at 3. Gary Carter, a couple of positions.
And there's Joe Torre. Joe Torre led the National League in hitting one year. Hit .363 for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Good enough for an MVP year, Joe.
Yeah.
Torre's first All-Star game as a manager. All of the mascots, including the Philly Fanatic, on hand. Big hand for Sandy Alamar from the Cleveland Indians. His battery mate from the Blue Jays will be Pat Henkin.
And Pat Henkin, the last year's Cy Young Award winner, pitched great for the Blue Jays last year. Not pitching as well this year, not as consistently well, I should say. He's pitched well, but he's had a few problems lately, and in fact, he lost to Andy Pettit, the runner-up to the Cy Young Award, in his last start. And there's a nice banner. Jim's dandy, and so is Sandy. And that could go a couple of ways. His father, Sandy Alamar Sr., played Major League Baseball as well.
They did. Yeah, to look at the new catcher's masks that have prevailed around the major leagues this season, getting away from the old standard mask. Now you have a helmet, so you don't have to wear the hat underneath, and there is a camera mounted to that for tonight's game. That's why it looks a bit odd, and we've shown you some shots from the catcher's viewpoint here tonight. Pat Henkin delivers his third All-Star appearance. 38-year-old right-hander. There's that camera that's mounted there on top.
I actually think that any protection you can give the catchers is great, and I think that really helps him with this new helmet.
Biggio pops that one up. He's 0 for 2 already in this game. Mark McGwire, who just came in at first base, puts it away. And Biggio's retired, one away here in the 6th inning. 5th time the All-Star game has been played here. 1935, the American League won at 4-1. 1954, the American League won at 11-9. 63, the National League 5-3, and in 1981, the National League 5-4. This is the first city to host the All-Star game for a 5th time. Tony Gwynn has taken an 0 for 2 first ball hitting. We'll foul that one up.
In the conversation that Tony Gwynn had with Ted Williams, one of the things that Williams stressed was that Tony should look for pitches more and not swing at the pitcher's pitch. He said you're hitting a lot of pitcher's pitches if you're not looking and guessing before you get 2 strikes, which I thought was interesting.
When Ted Williams talks hitting, all-stars listen.
Everybody should listen. You're right. Or wannabe all-stars especially.
Tony Gwynn will wait as Henkin moves back off the mound. 13th All-Star game for this perennial batting champion, Tony Gwynn. And that one towards second base. Joey Cora on the outfield grass makes the throw. What a pick made by McGwire. 2 ends of an all-star play right there.
Well, we've seen some great defensive plays, especially from the American League. And Joey Cora continues that tradition at second base. I mean, you have to whirl and throw, and McGwire just makes it look easy, doesn't he? Nice play here. We saw Roberto Alamar make a diving stop. A nice play there at first base by McGwire. Picks it out of the dirt for him.
Got an old-fashioned baseball game going on here, Joe. This is a classic pitchers matchup with great defense. Bonds hits that one to left center field, not very deep. Bernie Williams, who came on, puts it away, and Pat Henkin comes on and puts him down. 1, 2, 3. We go to the bottom half of the 6th inning with the American League still leading it 1-0. Looks like the Empire State Building, but it's not, because this is Cleveland. That's the Key Center. Hotel's office space downtown. This copyrighted telecast of the 1997 All-Star Game is the property of Major League Baseball. Any rebroadcast or retransmission without the express written consent of the office of the commissioner is prohibited. Delighted to have you with us wherever you may be around the world. Our coverage of this 68th annual All-Star Game. 205 countries receiving broadcasts of this game. There are now 147 Major League Baseball players from foreign countries representing 17 different nations. It's 19% of the Major League players now born outside the United States as it continues to expand. And speaking of, Pedro Martinez, Joe.
He has just gotten better and better each year. He was traded to the Expos from the Dodgers, and he was a reliever, and they made him into a starter, and his seasons have just become better and better each year. And this year he's leading the National League in earned run average. I mean, he has pitched magnificently. I mean, he lost a couple of games to Bobby Jones of the New York Mets when he, I guess, 2-1 and maybe 3-2. He pitched very well in those 2 losses. Good fastball, changeup, and a slider.
Martinez with a great breaking ball. Did that tie up Alex Rodriguez or what? Talk about some jelly legs. That pitch will do it to you.
Well, that's the 2nd time Rodriguez has taken the 3rd call strike. Took a fastball last time up from Schilling, and he takes the breaking ball this time from Pedro Martinez. Now, I don't know if he's looking for a fastball inside or what, but look at that breaking ball. You're right. Not a big hump in it. Good pitch there by Pedro Martinez.
Martinez gets the first out, and that'll bring up Ken Griffey Jr. He has flied out and struck out in this game. A 1-0 lead. American League on top, bottom of the 6th inning as the pitchers have dominated. Greg Maddox, the starter for the National League, gave up the homer in the 2nd inning to Edgar Martinez. Projections would be enormous. They would not, however, reach Roger Maris on the 61 home run mark, but that's just a projection.
And if you don't reach it, it doesn't mean you didn't have a great year.
If you put those numbers up you saw, projected numbers.
That's a great season.
Thank you very much. RBIs 84, leading the league, the American League in that department. He's one behind Mark McGwire for the home run lead. McGwire with 31 and Ken Griffey Jr. with 30. 1-1 count. Right in on the fist, Pedro Martinez, and it goes to a ball and 2 strikes. More changes made here in the All-Star game. Take a look. Steve Finley has come in to play in left field. Womack from the Pittsburgh Pirates at second base, and Martinez the pitcher. The 3 most recent changes. Griffey pops that one up. Chipper Jones, third baseman, giving chase by the tarp. No play. Look out. It is the one thing the players and managers most fear at an All-Star game, and that is an injury.
You're right, and that's why a lot of times you only see a pitcher go 1 or 2 innings. But I think that also makes for good pitching in All-Star competition. But you have the guy that's only going to go 2 innings like Randy Johnson. He can let everything he has go, and he doesn't have to save anything. If you're a starter, usually you have to pace yourself. In an All-Star game, you do not have to pace yourself.
No pacing by these pitchers in this game. Griffey lines that one to right field. It's going to stay up. He got it pretty good, but not far enough to get it out of there. Lou hauls it in. Julie Krautow downstairs. What a game for Ripken, Julie.
What a game, exactly. Cal, your 15th All-Star game, but your first at third base. Great defense tonight, including the barehanded play with that slow roller. Has it been a smooth transition for you?
At first, it was a little bit shaky for me because it is a different position, and it took me a while to get a good read on the ball. But I'd say the last 3 weeks I've started to feel really at home there.
As you know, baseball is growing around the world. What are your thoughts on international baseball?
I think it's a great idea. Any way you can expand baseball to other countries and introduce it, it's going to promote the game. I know I went on a tour of Japan. Had a great time in Japan competing over there. They have some very good quality players, and they were very competitive. I'd like to see a World Series be a true World Series. Maybe I'll have to watch it because I don't think it'll be in my time, but that's a good idea.
What are your thoughts on Arabu starting tomorrow?
I'm interested to see how he does. The focus is going to be on him, and he's pitching for a team that we're very interested in how they do. So we'll be watching closely and maybe trying to scout him a little bit.
Thanks a lot, Cal. Gary?
Mark McGwire in his first at-bat was struck out. You can bet the Japanese media will be in New York for that start on Thursday. We'll tell you more about that when we come back. American League leading 1-0. Great to have you with us around the world on Major League Baseball International's coverage of this 1997 All-Star Game, and there'll be international coverage coming up on Thursday. Hideki Arabu, his first Major League pitch, July 10, will be coming at Yankee Stadium. One of the great stars in the Japanese leagues, a very nasty pitcher to hit. The broadcast on Thursday from New York will be seen around the world, including 36 big screen TVs in Japan, starting at 8:30 a.m. Japanese time. He has worked up through the minor league system. NHK will be covering that. Big screens all throughout the major metropolitan areas in Japan for Thursday's game, 8:30 a.m. when he arrives in New York. And that will be his manager. Joe Torre was asked today, have you met him? Nope. Have you seen him pitch? Only on TV. I'll meet him on Thursday. Well, that will be a day in New York. We are ready to go to the 7th inning with Javi Lopez coming up. Rosado's delivery, and that will be down low for a ball. Jose Rosado, the numbers that he has put up for the Kansas City Royals this season. Lopez fouls it back.
Well, you see Rosado, he's the only representative from the Kansas City Royals, and he has a 7-4 record. Pitched very, very well.
He's only 22 years old, out of Dorado, Puerto Rico. His first All-Star appearance, and Javi Lopez getting his first at-bat as he came on, go behind the plate as a substitute in this game. Left-handers pitched to him, and that just missed outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Javi Lopez of the Braves. Rosado was delighted to have the opportunity to be here in this game. He did not expect the chance That one hit deep to left field. Near that foul pole, it is deep, and it is gone. Home run. Javi Lopez off the foul pole, which is fair. And the National League has tied this game up the same way the American League got their lead, with a long ball.
Well, Rosado looked like he threw him a changeup. He took something off the pitch, and Lopez was out in front, but he had good extension, and he was able to keep the ball fair. It really didn't hook. Now watch, you'll see this. He's out in front a little bit of this pitch. See, that was a breaking ball, and he's out in front. He had good extension, and that's why the ball did not curve foul. Just stayed right on that plane, and it hits high off the foul pole down the left field line. Good view there by left field umpire Terry Kraft. You can see he said yes.
And this one will be fisted to short by Bagwell. Easy play made there by Garcia-Pera, who just came on, the Boston Red Sox shortstop, now in the game. Nomar Garcia-Pera put out on Bagwell, who's 0 for 3 in the ball game. One away in the 7th.
And you get a look at Rosado. He tries to hide the ball, and there's the changeup or the breaking ball. It was an off-speed breaking ball, and Lopez just hits it right down the line for a home run. He's got a lot of power. That ball hit well up on the foul pole. Here's another look at the pitch. You can see he was a little bit out in front. He was fooled a little bit.
Moises Alou in his first at bat picks himself up a base hit. Alou coming on to play in right field for Larry Walker, and he's on. So a home run and a single here is double the output of hits the National League had coming into this inning. Moises Alou, the son of Felipe Alou, the manager of the Montreal Expos.
Well, good hitting, and he does this a lot. Left-handed pitcher throws the ball away, he just slaps it to right field for a base hit. He is not a pull hitter, so if the ball's away, he'll go the other way.
Now Chipper Jones from the Atlanta Braves will get his first shot at the plate. A run in. Game tied at 1. Rosado's pitch is foul back. Rosado had given up 13 home runs during the regular season, so that's been a problem for him. And Javi Lopez has tied the game up. And Javi's teammate Chipper Jones, 4th in the National League with 69 runs batted in. Another one of the bright young stars of this game. There's Javi Lopez, who got the home run. Chipper Jones to right field. Be playable over there in the corner. Hauled in. Anderson. And that will be the second out. 2 down here in the 7th inning.
Rosado seems like he has a good enough fastball to get in on these hitters, but he made a mistake with a breaking ball to Javi Lopez.
2 down, and Ray Langford, who's played all the ball game, has grounded out and struck out. Runner on at first base, Moises Alou. Jose Rosado, fastball up high. First All-Star appearance for the St. Louis Cardinal outfielder. We've had 2 home runs hit in this game. I will say one thing, Joe, this All-Star game is accurately reflecting the current Major League season. Great pitching. Home runs overall are down, but for individuals there are some great home run numbers.
Well, you're right, and usually that comes because pitchers are throwing well, but anytime they make a mistake, some of the big fellows make them play.
Rosado is paid in this inning. Fouled off by Langford. Kansas City Royals, for their representative here, all teams must have a representative in this game under the current rules. Some think that ought to be changed to allow other players in when maybe a team doesn't have an all-star.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with that, those people who think that way. I think every Major League fan and every fan around the world should be able to pull for at least one player of their own team. You know, in an all-star game, there are 28 spots. You know, and every team has one player that's good enough to be on this all-star team.
And a strike to Langford. Should the roster be expanded?
No, I don't think so, because then all you're doing is just adding players that may not get into the game anyway. I think the roster's perfect. It used to be 25. Now it's 28. I think they've expanded it enough. But I really believe that every fan should have someone in this game to pull for. This game is for the fans, you know, around the world. And they should have a chance to pull for someone. So I don't agree that they should not have a representative from each team.
I can't believe we actually agree on that. How amazing is that? Huh? Finally found something.
All right.
Okay,
well, we can work from there.
Sure, we can work from there and go on. We got a chance at liking each other. Rosado, the only representative of KC. Jeff Cirillo, the only one from Milwaukee. Chuck Nauglock, the only one from Minnesota. Garcia Pera, the only one from Boston. Jason Dixon, the only one from Anaheim. That one misses, and it's ball 4. And Ray Langford moves on, and the inning stays alive here. Alex Rodriguez, talk about young stars with Julie. Julie?
Yeah, 21 years old, definitely a young star. Alex, this is your second All-Star game, but the first that you've been voted in. Does that make it more special?
It's very special. It tells me that the fans recognize the job I did last year and the first half of this year's season so far. It means a lot, and winning by such an overwhelming margin, I thought it would be a lot closer. So I really enjoyed it. I had a lot more fun this year than last year, so hopefully there'll be many more in the future.
Were you afraid that you wouldn't make it a while because of your chest injury?
Well, I'm not fully recovered 100% yet, and I did think about missing this whole All-Star game and all that, but the trainer advised me that it's okay for me to play, and I just got to play through this little injury that I have going right now, but hopefully as the summer heats up, I get a lot better.
Thanks a lot, Alex. Gary?
Julie, thanks very much. Bright young star, and are another one of the really good guys of this game. They're just good people.
Yeah, the Seattle Mariners, I think, are very, very lucky that they're two young players, the best players on their team. The young guys are exceptional people as well as exceptional players. That's Ken Griffey Jr. and Alex Rodriguez.
And this is Royce Clayton of the St. Louis Cardinals, who's got runners at first and second with 2 down, and a 2-ball, 1-strike count. Clayton, one of the replacement players we talked about earlier, taking the place of Barry Larkin, the Cincinnati shortstop, injured and unable to play even though he's in attendance here. Royce Clayton getting his first at bat. 2 on, game tied at 1-1. Jose Rosado, the left-hander, delivers, and Clayton fouls it back, evening the count at 2 balls, 2 strikes.
He's also replacing a legend in St. Louis, and that's the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Smith. He took over for Ozzie Smith this year as the everyday shortstop. He and Ozzie kind of split that time last year, so he's taken over for the legend there, and they also taken over for All-Star and MVP Barry Larkin here in the All-Star game.
There's a lot of shoes to fill on that one.
Big shoes for a shortstop in the National League following those 2 players.
He's 27 years old. This is his first All-Star appearance. And Clayton fights off the inside fastball. It remains 2 balls and 1 strike.
And one thing that Rosado is doing when he throws the fastball, he's hiding it from the hitters because they're all late on him. And the right-handed hitters are even late. But he's not throwing enough of them. And not throwing enough of them for strikes on the inside part of the plate.
Only 22 years old. Base runners on. Allou's on at second base. Langford on at first. The 2-2 deliveries up high and a full count. So the runners will have the advantage of the jump here. In a 3-2 count, they'll be going on the delivery. 3-2, 2 down. Game tied at 1. National League getting back in for Bobby Cox, their skipper, with a homer here by Lopez. Joe Torre's club losing the lead they'd held since the 2nd inning. And Royce Clayton trying to give the National League a lead. 3-2. There they go. And he struck him out. Rosado gets the strikeout, but a leadoff homer by Javi Lopez, the 11th player to homer in his first All-Star at-bat. Jeff Conine did it last in '95. Gary Thorne and Joe Morgan, delighted to have you with us around the world. Our coverage of the All-Star game here in Cleveland. And if you want more information on the game of baseball, check it out. You can do it right now on Major League Baseball's website, www.majorleaguebaseball.com. Endless amounts of information on the game of baseball, www.majorleaguebaseball.com. Jim Thome, Cleveland Indians, standing ovation. And he is facing Sean Estes from the San Francisco Giants, the left-hander.
And this guy has good stuff. He's got a good fastball, good breaking ball. And he has been the leader of the Giants staff this year.
Tommy getting the chant going here in Cleveland for the 48,000 plus. Batting .298 on the year. 4th in homers, 10th in RBIs. Comey up the middle. They played him that way. And the easy throw by Royce Clayton.
Good scouting report there by the National League. That should have been a base hit, but Clayton standing right behind the bag at second base makes the play.
Even scouting reports for the All-Star game. So Jim Thome is retired. His first at bat. 1-1 ball game. 1-5-0 for the American League. 1-3-0 for the National League. Mark Grace has come on to play at first base for the National League from the Chicago Cubs. Don Estes facing Bernie Williams of the New York Yankees. His first at bat. Outside for a ball. There are the season numbers put up by Bernie Williams so far. 28 years old, out of Puerto Rico. First All-Star appearance for Bernie Williams. And a strike taken.
And there you see the numbers for Sean Estes. 12-2. Look at the earned run average. A few more bases on balls than you would like, but he has thrown the ball exceptionally well for the Giants. He's the reason that they have a 5.5 game lead out there in the West. No one picked them to win the West. And their pitching staff has been great. Him and Mark Gardner have been the leader, along with Rod Beck, who is also on this staff.
All the
National League All-Stars.
Excuse me, Joe. All the hitters talk about him and say this guy is really tough. They don't like facing Sean Estes. Bernie Williams, after the fastball, doesn't get it. 2-2.
And you can see right there that it's difficult to pick the ball up off of his release point. And Bernie Williams was a little late on that. And, you know, speaking of Bernie Williams, his parents cast the first ballot this year in Puerto Rico. They had not been part of the Major League All-Star balloting before, and they cast the first ballot there, and I'm sure it was for Bernie. And he's playing in his All-Star game this year.
Website balloting took place this season. The opportunity to do that. A great boon for baseball. Bernie Williams on the breaking ball takes that. Bernie wasn't sure what that pitch was. He was just jumping in there, and the count's 3-2. I was like, what was that?
And we'll take a look at Sean Estes, and this is kind of what you see from the plate. So you can't see the ball now, and you don't see it until he releases it right there. That's a big overhand curveball, and it breaks sharply into the dirt. And as you said, Bernie Williams didn't know what to do with it.
Started jumping out at it. The ball wouldn't get to the plate in time for him.
But if you're smart, just don't swing. Your chances are better. Let's let the umpire call it.
One down, bases empty. 3-2 count, one away. 1-1 ball game, bottom of the 7th inning. What a very fine baseball game. Well played here. And the pitch is down low. So Williams able to pick up the walk of Sean Estes. That is the first walk that has been surrendered by the National League pitchers in this game.
You know, you're mentioning this being a fine ball game. It is a good ball game. A lot of good things happening. Defense that plays at third on the infield by the American League. Good pitching by both staffs. But you know what? I'd rather see some hitting.
Well, you're a position player.
Hit.
You're a hitter.
I like to see the guys hit.
That's who you are. Estes checks Williams and faces Joey Cora, and it's ball one. I generally would agree with you. Yeah. There's Cora's numbers. Although I must say, as a ball game gets late in a game and it's 1-0 or 1-1, I really do love that kind of thing.
No, I agree with you. A lot of things happen. A lot of.
Joey Cora, can it be the little guy? Just shy of the wall, but he gave it a ride. Joey Cora trying to put one out. Finley went over and got it right in front of the 370 mark.
And they give him a standing ovation behind the dugout. And now Sandy Alamar is coming up. Let's take a look at this fastball in. He almost got it if he just didn't quite pull it. And as they say, when it comes down after a little guy hits it, he's usually going to be out. You see Ken Griffey Jr., everybody thinks maybe it has a shot, but not to be.
Big hand for the Cleveland catcher, Sandy Alamar. Sean Estes outside to him. He goes to the All-Star break with a 30-game hit streak. Only Benito Santiago as a catcher has had a longer hit streak, 34 games back in 1987. Alamar's only 4 behind that mark for a catcher.
Got some styling gloves on, I know that. I mean, those men, look, those are real all-star gloves right there.
There's some red, white, and blue going on there.
That's some all-star gloves.
Alamar will have to wait. Look at those babies. You can't miss those hands.
He wants to look good in case he doesn't hit well.
Oh, you know, it's important, Joe, right?
Yeah.
Always ready just in case. 1-1 to him. Big cut on that Estes breaking ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. He's shaking his head. You can see why Sean Estes is so hard to hit. That curveball just buries itself, and it looks like it's a strike when it gets to the front of the plate. Alamar down, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Runner on at first, 2 down. Game tied at 1 apiece. Alamar, his 5th All-Star game. Inside and gets away. Javi Lopez having trouble with that one. And down to second base with a potential go-ahead run now. The American League. It'll be a wild pitch.
Well, he was really trying to break off a sharp curveball here for strike 3. And he holds on to it a little too tight. He actually threw it a little too hard. And Javi tried to block it and keep it in front of him, but it bounced off his glove and back to the backstop. So now the go-ahead run is in scoring position.
So Sandy Alamar, the 31-year-old, gets the chance to be a hometown hero, at least for a moment. The 2 down, a base hit here could put the American League back on top. Estes wants the signs again. Two balls, 2 strikes. And Alamar drills that. Deep left field. If it's gone, it's fireworks. It's both. Goodbye, home run.
Can't give good hitters too many looks at the same pitch. Here's another breaking ball, and he actually gets this one over the plate for a strike. And with 2 strikes, Alamar just drills it. And watch where this breaking ball ends up, right there toward the middle of the plate, a little above the knees, and he hits it out of the ballpark. And that one was a flatter breaking ball. It wasn't that overhand breaking ball. A little different look.
His first All-Star home run, Sandy Alamar Jr. in his own ballpark. Magic moments. And a 3-1 lead for the American League as Jeff Cirillo stands in.
Nothing more satisfying than to do that in your home ballpark. Here's a breaking ball. He knows right now that it's gone. Steve Finley in left field went back, but I mean, that's a line drive. That one's out of here quickly.
Well, Sean Estes comes on, and with 2 down, Sandy Alamar takes him deep. And the American League's back on top.
Well, he gave up the first base on balls that the National League had allowed, and that's really what extended the inning. And Alamar put the finishing touches on the inning.
A moment that will be relived for a long time in All-Star history.
Well, they know right away that that one's gone. I mean, they were looking on Joey Cora. The little guy hit it. They had to look, but when the big fella hit it, they knew it was out of here.
And the pitch outside to Cirillo. And a 3-1 American League lead. They are trying to end the National League's 3-game win streak in All-Star competition. They've got the 3-1 lead back. 3-1 delivery, a strike on the outside corner, and it's 3 balls and 2 strikes on Cirillo. Now they're chanting MVP, maybe.
Well, if the game remains as it is, I don't think there's any doubt.
3-2 delivery by Sean Estes is fouled back by Cirillo, and the count is 3-2.
And you're looking at the American League with a 3-1 lead going to the top of the 8th inning, at least a 3-1 lead. They have Mariano Rivera as the only relief pitcher they have on their staff.
3-2 delivery by Sean Estes, and that one's foul tipped and held onto, and Cirillo is a strikeout victim. But Sandy Alamar Jr. has picked up his first All-Star home run in his own yard in Cleveland, and the American League is back on top. Well, the home crowd here at Jacobs Field in Cleveland certainly not disappointed, as their man, the Sandy man, can and did. And when he came out, they exploded. Nice moment in All-Star history, yes. And he won't forget that, Joe.
No way he'll forget that. In fact, you know, Ted Williams, who could have been the greatest hitter to ever play this game, says the biggest thrill he had in his entire career was when he hit the home run in 1941 to win the All-Star team. And I mean, here's a guy that hit 500 home runs, won a Triple Crown, but this was the biggest thrill for him. There's his brother Roberto, and I'm sure he was just as happy for Sandy as anyone was. And I also said, let me correct the mistake I made, it's the National League that only has one reliever, Rod Beck, but Randy Myers is also here with Mariano Rivera for Joe Torre's American League team.
And that's who we're going to see leading the league in saves with 27. Hard thrower Randy Myers of the Baltimore Orioles. Tony Womack of the Pittsburgh Pirates, his first at bat, fouls it off. 8th inning, a 3-1 lead for the American League.
And I'm sure Sandy Alamar Jr. had to be thinking about his grandmother as he was running around the bases.
Yeah. You know when he crossed home plate, huh?
Yeah.
But that's what he was thinking about. What a wonderful moment in his life. His brother can celebrate that with him. Randy Myers, the fastball to Tony Womack, second leading base stealer in the National League, leadoff hitter for the Pittsburgh Pirates, getting his first opportunity at an All-Star game. And Womack batting in the leadoff spot. And that one by Myers misses up high.
Randy Myers will do this. He'll throw 2 quick strikes, and before you know it, it's 3-2. He may even walk a couple of men, but he usually gets out of jams.
4th All-Star selection for Randy Myers. Misses outside with it, and the count goes full. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
So from 0-2, now we're at 3-2.
And he's got the top of the order here that he's trying to deal with. Alamar sets up the target. Womack will fight that one off. And the count remains at 3 balls and 2 strikes. Tony Womack strikes out a lot, does not draw many walks. This time he goes to second base with it. Chuck Knobloch, who's come on to play, makes the play. Womack is retired. Talk about big moments. 1946, game 13, Fenway Park. Ted Williams, Rip Sewell, who used to throw the eephus pitch. Ted Williams said, I can hit that out of the ball yard. Rip Sewell was on the mound. There was the eephus pitch, and there was Ted Williams driving it in his home park into those famous right field seats where he hit a lot of dingers back in 1946. Ted Williams.
And that's the only home run that was ever hit off the eephus pitch.
Looked like a softball pitch he threw, didn't it? Just up in the air. Andres Galarraga, speaking of up in the air, here's some power from the guy who plays at Mile High, Coors Field.
He's had a fantastic season. In fact, he hit the longest home run before Mark McGuire's 538. He had one 529, but it wasn't at Coors Field. It was in Florida at Pro Players Park.
Well, he's put up some great numbers. Swings at that one, and Randy Myers gets him. Myers on the strikeout of Andres Galarraga. The big cat goes down, and there are 2 away here in the 8th inning. 2 down, bases empty. Steve Finley coming up.
There's a pitch low and away, and Galarraga way out in front of it. It looked like a little splitter, and it acts like a changeup.
Finley with 2 down and nobody on, and a fastball strike from Randy Myers. Steve Finley hitting .279 on the season. San Diego Padres outfielder, 10th in slugging in the National League. Myers gets him to chase.
He had 3 home runs in a ball game against San Francisco last month. I mean, 3 in 1 game. That's
getting it done in a hurry.
In a hurry.
He's got 16 on the year.
Hit 30 home runs.
55.
Hit 30 home runs last year, so he's turning into a power hitter.
It's kind of surprising how that happens to different players, Joe. Guys who aren't that early on in a career become more powerful.
I think part of the reason nowadays, Gary, is because players are bigger and stronger than they were before because of their weight programs and things like that. Barry Bonds told me that Brady Anderson's upper body was one of the strongest he's ever seen. And then Brady hit 50-something home runs last year. So he said there's one of the balloons that they let go earlier in the ball game. Found its way back to the playing field.
One of thousands and thousands they let go here. And Brady Anderson, one of the reasons he's not hitting so many home runs, he's taken off some of that upper body weight this year for Brady Anderson. Strike 3 call. Randy Myers comes out of the bullpen, and the Baltimore Oriole reliever strikes out 2, retires the side in order. Bottom of the 8th inning coming up with the American League leading at 3-1. Major League Baseball International's coverage of the 1997 All-Star Game from Jacobs Field in Cleveland. Gary Thorne and Joe Morgan. Julie Croteau with us, and delighted to have you around the world watching this one from Cleveland. Long ball as the story of this game. Brady Anderson facing Bobby Jones of the New York Mets, leading it off here. And he'll tap that one towards first. Mark Grace plays it, tags him going by, but it was a foul ball. Time Grace got to it, was in foul territory. There you see the long ball in this game. Edgar Martinez, a solo home run, put the American League up 1-0. Javi Lopez of the Atlanta Braves tied it, solo home run in the 7th. And then Sandy Alamar Jr. on his home field, picking up the 2-run homer for the American League to give them a 3-1 lead and ignite Jacobs Field here in Cleveland. The largest crowd they've ever had here, 44,916 on hand for the 68th All-Star game.
And you know, it's funny, I have a very close tie. As you look at Bobby Jones' record, he has been just pitched unbelievably well for the New York Mets. He's the reason that they are in a wild card position. But I have a close tie to the Alamar family because Sandy, the father, used to break in my gloves for me. I couldn't break in gloves when I played in the major league, and he'd break them in for me. And I've known Roberto and his son Sandy, you know, for a long period of time. So I'm very pleased for Sandy because he's had a lot of injuries in his career. He's never been able to reach the potential that, you know, was forecast for him when he was with San Diego. Roberto has been healthy, and he's had some great seasons, won world championships. But Sandy has been struggling, and he's off to a great start this year because he's injury-free.
And Joey's got a chance to do something hasn't been done in a long time. The last catcher to lead the league in hitting, Ernie Lombardi. Sandy Alamar Jr. is leading the league at the All-Star break with a .375 batting average, best among the American League hitters. So a chance to make some more history if he can stay healthy and keep that kind of a pace up. Brady Anderson fights it off. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Brady Anderson has played the whole game. Started in left field, has moved around to right, but he's been in for the whole thing. And we're in the bottom half of the 8th inning. Bobby Jones of the New York Mets, off the fist, foul back, remains 2-2. Jones making his first appearance in an All-Star game against Brady Anderson, who's had 1 hit in 3 at-bats, a double. The Oriole outfielder got his time in. Sandy Alamar showing him how he did it. Edgar Martinez, who had the other home run, sitting there next to him. And he does not go after it. And did not go around. Jeff Kellogg, third base umpire, says he didn't swing. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Brady Anderson. Bobby Jones with a 3-2 delivery, and that one's a base hit. What an at-bat for Brady Anderson, who leads off this half of the 8th inning for the American League with his 2nd hit of the game.
Good job of hitting, and as I said, the more pitches a hitter is able to see from a pitcher, the better he is to be able to gauge his fastballs and the other pitches that he has seen. And here's another good high fastball from Bobby Jones. Good hitting here by Brady Anderson. Just goes the other way, lines at the left field for a base hit.
So the 7th hit for the American League puts a runner on against Bobby Jones, and Nomar Garciaparra will get his first at bat. The young Boston Red Sox shortstop is the only rookie who is appearing in this All-Star game. He won the rookie home run hitting exhibition, the home run derby. Garciaparra's had a very fine start to the season for the Boston Red Sox. He's been getting on base, getting runs. His 60 runs ranks 6th in the American League coming into the break. Bobby Jones pitched to him, misses. 2 balls and 1 strike on Garciaparra. Red Sox willing to make moves to make room for him, and it's paid off. Runner goes, fouled off. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Good hit and run count there. 2 balls and 1 strike. 2-0, 2-1, 3-1 are good hit and run situations.
Joe, we saw him rocking. He likes to rock back and forth on his feet when he's in the batter's box waiting for the pitch.
Well, every hitter has a timing device that he uses, whether it's something, the movement with his hands or movement with his hips or his feet. Everyone has a trigger. You have to have some type of movement. You can't start from a dead stop. So he also moves his bat around.
Down to third. That's going to be a fair ball. Chipper Jones will go to second to Womack. They will get the force out at second base. 1 away, runner at first. Dodger catcher Mike Piazza. Julie.
Mike, you were last year's MVP of the All-Star game. This is your 4th consecutive All-Star game. Does the honor ever diminish?
No, not at all. This is a lot of fun for me. Having a great time with all the guys. I never get tired of these. These are a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Do you think the All-Star game has been changed at all by interleague play?
Not at all. I think it's helped it a lot. I think you saw tonight is without a doubt a good game, a lot of good pitching, some good defense, and you know, like I said, I think the game's been great, very interesting.
Can you tell us a little bit about Arabu's long-awaited debut?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, he's going to be under a microscope. There's a lot of expectations there, but from what I understand, he has a tremendous amount of ability. So I think, you know, from what I've heard, he's going to be probably a tremendous asset to the Yankees staff.
This from a man who lived through the NOMO experience. Thanks, Mike. Gary?
Yeah, Julie, he has seen what it's going to be like at Yankee Stadium with the press coverage. We have some rain coming down now. 1 down, 2 strike count on Griffey, who has also gone the distance in this game. Has taken an 0 for 3. It is a 3-1 American League lead here in the bottom half of the 8th. Runner on at first base. Garciaparra, the pitch to Griffey is swung on, foul tipped and held on to, and Bobby Jones will get the strikeout. That'll bring up Mark McGwire.
Well, we'll take a look at this pitch. It looks like a slow splitter. The ball moves. You see it move away from Griffey, and he's out in front of it. A little split-fingered fastball, change of speed.
And Mark McGwire on the off-speed pitch does not catch up to that one. One of the great home run hitters of all time right here. His home runs per at-bat are under 10. He gets 1 in less than every 10 at-bats. Only Babe Ruth has had a better home run per at-bat rate in Major League history than Mark McGwire. Always a danger to put one out of the yard. Bobby Jones on that one missed. A ball and 2 strikes on Mark McGwire.
Well, health has kept Mark McGwire from challenging year in and year out the record set by Roger Maris. So if he can stay healthy this year, he definitely will challenge.
Leading the majors coming into the All-Star break, Mark McGwire with the 31 home runs, 4th in RBIs in the league with 71. McGuire waiting, and the pitch is outside from Bobby Jones, and the count goes full. 3 balls, 2 strikes from McGuire. There you see those numbers. Mark McGuire, single season leaders. He has done it in 95-96 with home runs per at bat, 8.1. Ruth 1920, 1927, and 1921. There goes the base runner, 3-2, and Bobby Jones gets the strikeout. Mark McGuire retired, no runs, a base hit, 1 left on. The American League 3 outs away from picking up the 1997 All-Star win. Back here in Cleveland, Major League Baseball International's broadcast of the 1997 All-Star Game has been brought to you by MasterCard, the future of money, and by Pepsi, Generation Next. Gary Thorne, Joe Morgan, Julie Croteau, delighted that you have joined us here. And will the 3-year win streak of the National League be ended here? The American League's Mariano Rivera from the New York Yankees has come on to try and shut down the National League. 3 more outs and the American League will have the win. And a big cut of the miss by Charlie Johnson as we go to the 9th inning.
And you do not have to wait on this guy. He turns it loose. Good fastball, throws a slider, but his basic approach is just to throw the ball by you like that.
He was the setup man last season for the Yankees before John Wetland was traded away. Now Mariano Rivera comes on to get it done. Rivera, 27 years old, out of Panama. And the fastball just missed to the Marlins catcher. Batting just .226, a strong defensive player. The bat has always been the problem for him. He's got a great arm, can call a game and throw people out. Never has hit for a high average. And he's gone here. Rivera gets the strikeout, 1 down in the 9th.
And you see why they were willing to let Wetland go. Rivera has overpowering stuff, and I mean, he can just stand out there and throw the ball by you. And when you're going to use him just for 1 inning like the 9th inning, he may never throw anything but a fastball. And you may never be able to touch it.
Even if you know it's coming. Mark Grace of the Chicago Cubs. Gold Glove winner. Hitting .324 again this season.
Well, he just cracked Mark Grace's bat. A 94-mile-an-hour fastball on the inside part of the plate. And there's a souvenir for a kid.
Surprise. Now he started a war in the stands.
Well, the way Mariano Rivera throws, just stay close by. You may get another chance. There they are. They're in a...
Easy now, folks. Mark Grace down to first base. Played there by Mark McGuire. 2 down. One out, and the American League will end the National League's 3-game streak. The all-time record is 40, 26, and 1 tie, with the American League having the advantage. The 68th All-Star Game here in Cleveland, the 5th to be held here over the years. The American and National League, they've each won 2 games. Moises Alou will try and keep it alive. Alou picked up a single in his only at-bat. Rivera down low with that one for a ball.
You know, I didn't even notice before. We talked about the gloves that Sandy Alamar Jr. has on. Look at that chest protector and the shin guards. I mean, he has a great all-star attire on tonight.
Yeah, doesn't he? Lots of it. Alou waiting. Rivera's pitch is a fastball, and that misses down low. 2 balls and no strikes on Alou. Chipper Jones would get an at-bat if Alou could keep the inning going here.
And he would be the tying run.
Mariano Rivera's pitch, a fastball right there. Edgar Martinez got a home run in the 2nd inning off Greg Maddux. The American League took the 1-0 lead. Javi Lopez a home run in the 7th inning. Tied the ball game up. Sandy Alamar Jr. home run to give the 3-1 lead to the American League in the bottom half of the 7th. Sean Estes, the man who gave it up, could be the loser. Bobby Copps, the skipper of the National League Ball Club, that could take the loss here.
The close-up of Sandy Alamar's chest protector and gear.
Here's the 2-2 from Rivera. Line drive, and this game's over. Knobloch calls it in. And the 68th All-Star game will go to the American League as they beat the National League 3-1.
And a fine pitching performance by the American League pitchers and also by the National League pitchers. The home run was the difference in the ball game. The American League hit one more home run.
There you see our final score. The American League 3-7-0. The National League 1-3-0 here at Jacobs Field. The American League wins it. And our Pepsi Generation Next player of the game
is Sandy Alamar Jr. He gets a breaking ball from Sean Estes with a runner on second base, and he hits the ball out of the ballpark, and that applies to margin of victory for the American League, 3-1, and you can see how excited he is, and there's probably nothing more exciting than to hit a home run in an All-Star game in your home park.
Hank Aaron was the last one to do it in Atlanta in 1972. Rocky Colavito, the last Indian to do it before this game in 1959. We'll be back to Cleveland, where the American League has won it 3-1. Randy Man can do it, and he did. The MVP of this All-Star game, Sandy Alamar Jr. got the big two-run homer that decided it. Back here in Cleveland, Gary Thorne along with Joe Morgan. That is the first MVP of an All-Star game, Joe, that the Cleveland Indians have ever had.
And they've had some great players in the All-Star game. We mentioned Larry Doby, Bob Feller, Rocky Colavito, Al Roden. They've had some great players in there, but Sandy Alamar Jr. becomes the first.
You know, Joe, what impressed me about this ball game in particular was the crispness with which it was played.
You're right. Great defensive plays. Well, I think that was due to the way the pitchers start out. They were not walking a lot of hitters, not going to a lot of 3-2 counts, which keeps the infielders on their toes. The pitchers actually control the ball game tonight, and only a couple of swings separated the teams.
This All-Star game, I think we saw the competitiveness. We talked at the top of the program about whether or not we would see that in an All-Star game in this day and age. I think the juices do begin to flow once the guys get out there.
I don't think there's any doubt that this was a very competitive All-Star game, but the pitchers just wouldn't let the big sluggers loose tonight. Randy Johnson started it off, and it was ended by Mariano Rivera, and in between, all the pitchers pitched well for the American League.
Take a look at the MVP of this ball game and the play of the game.
Well, this is a breaking ball from Sean Estes. He'd thrown him a couple. This one was the sidearm breaking ball. He didn't get over the top of it and didn't break down. And Sandy Alamar Jr. hit a line drive into the left field seats, and he becomes the MVP. I mean, there's nothing bigger than winning the most valuable player in an All-Star game.
They brought him out on the field here afterwards to present the award to him, and obviously this crowd just going crazy. Joe Morgan, outstanding game. Great to have an All-Star here to do this game with. Really enjoyed it.
Well, it's always enjoyable to spend time with you, Gary, and there's that beautiful outfit. He's dressed like an All-Star MVP, isn't he? Great job by Sandy Alamar Jr.
Is he a jockey or a catcher? Well, he answered that question tonight by hitting that home run. And it was the game winner in the American League, ends the National League streak of having won 3 consecutive. Our final score, the American League has come away with a victory in the 1997 All-Star game, the American League 3 and the National League 1 at Jacobs Field in Cleveland.
Run in the second inning was the first run that the American League had since the 95 All-Star game, and Joe Torre, part of a few now, his 10th All-Star game, and now he's at the podium speaking, taking questions live from Cleveland.
Come on, somebody. Yes.
Just break down the Albert Bell, what he asked you.
Would you break down the Albert Bell situation, what he asked you, what he said to you?
Albert and I talked yesterday, and he just told me that he was a little uncomfortable about playing. He said, but if I needed him to play, that he would. And that's basically what it's all about. And I just told him today that he said he had a little glove. He said he played all the infield positions, too, in case I needed him at the end. But that was basically what he said to me, and I wasn't going to put him in an uncomfortable situation unless I had to.
Tom?
If he felt that way, should he have told you sooner so that you weren't in effect playing shorthanded?
If he felt that way, should he have told you sooner so that you were not, in effect, playing shorthanded?
Well, I think it would have helped with the number of outfielders, but again, I think probably with Frank Thomas not being here, he felt obligated to be here to represent the White Sox.
Another one.
Joe, can you share your thoughts on being an All-Star
Would you share your thoughts about being the All-Star manager this year?
Well, the greatest part about it is that it means you played in the World Series the year before, and you know that was a first for me. And then coming in here, you tell all the players about having fun, and then you get into the game and you realize how much you want to win. And the only thing really that I'm sorry about tonight, we had it you know, panned out and we had it planned out, and I wanted to get Jason Dixon in the game, and then once they tied it up, and I saw they had 3 left-handers coming up, and then they pinch hit Galarraga. But once they had 3 left-handers coming up, I decided to go with Myers in the 8th, and then, you know, unfortunately, Dixon didn't get in the game.
Yes.
The AL has this offensive label put on it, but tonight the pitching was there.
The AL has this offensive label put on it, but tonight the pitching was there.
Well, again, it never, this game, this was an exciting game. I mean, I appreciate good pitching, but that's what you're going to see in all-star games. It could never live up to, you know, a 10-9 thought or wish because of the pitching. And there's no problem finding 10 quality pitches in each league. And when you do that, and you're not going to stress them out by pitching them more than an inning or two, you know, you're going to see a lot of quality. And the home run is basically going to win it for you. And I was just happy. And of course, being here in Cleveland for Sandy to be the star, you know, it was another one of those storybook things. I had one last fall, and there was another one tonight.
Okay, back there.
So how happy were you were able to work in all of your players?
How happy were you that you were able to work in all of your players?
Well, again, as I said, Dixon's the one guy I had planned, and Mike Mussina was a little under the weather, so he didn't mind not pitching. And you know, Dixon was the only team not represented, and that's the only thing I wish we could have done differently. And the reason we kept him to the end is basically because you know, he could give us 3 innings, and if we needed something in a tie game, he would have been the guy.
Barry.
You know, you've seen guys rise to the occasion many times in your career. Where do you rank what Sandy did tonight?
You've seen guys rise to the occasion many times in your career. Where do you rank what Sandy did tonight?
Well, you know, I think Tomei showed you yesterday in the home run hitting contest that you get in front of your home folks and you try so hard sometimes you can't see. And tonight, falling behind in the count the way he did, and still, you know, he keeps the groove. He's hitting 30 straight. And I don't think they're going to count this one tonight. But he's hitting 30 straight, which means he has a pretty good feeling about himself. But he, you know, he's the star right now, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Robbie. They got a chance to play together again. You know, I played with their dad, and it was pretty special because you know, it's a kid you saw running around the clubhouse a long time ago.
Okay.
All right, let's go back to the game, as this is just what Joe Torre is talking about. A 2-2 pitch from Sean Estes to the man of the hour, Sandy Alamar, unloads for a 2-run blast. The game was tied until that made it 3-1, and Sandy Alamar continues his hot hitting as he is in the midst of a 30-game hitting streak, and he becomes the first MVP to win it in his home park, as well as the first Indian to win the MVP as the American League snaps a 3-game losing streak by the final of 3-1. Stick around. The ESPN News Network continues in just a moment.